Well, good morning, everybody. Happy Super Tuesday, Taco Tuesday, and Chico's up here right now. Is that everybody? Huh? Huh? You ain't gonna say anything? You gonna say when is this movie gonna end? Huh? So I got the telegram. I think okay right now. I got it all set up and logged in. So we're gonna have a busy day today. I found a lot of good stuff again. So I'm gonna stay on for a while, take a break, and come back. A little bit at a time. So when Ann said when Ann said yesterday about that shooting, well, that's something big going on there. I guess that was a transgender person there that did it. I got a photo of that. We'll share later. What? What are you hearing? You seen Ariella? You seen hi to Ariella and Bella? Huh? Oh, what are you doing? What are you doing? Huh? Oh, what? What? All right. Oh. So everybody's at work. Hopefully everybody can listen. Oh, he wants up there in the window. You want on the window, don't you? Bless you. Come on. Come on. Let's go. Come on. Go. Go. Come on. Get up there. We'll start at the 5-minute mark here. A couple more minutes here. See how many we get in chat, but I know a lot of people are working.
Eddie? They killed their daughter. They wrote the ransom note.
So we got, sit down, Chico. Come on, sit down. Oprah videos, Hillary videos, all kinds of stuff today. Everything's coming out. Yep, everything's coming out. Slowly, slowly, slowly. Okay, we are going to get started. Hope everyone has a good Tuesday. Hope to see everybody in tonight. See how many we getting listened to this morning. Okay, let's do the first one. We'll do Benny. He has one, the body double, 8 minutes.
Yeah, baby. Yeah. What's up, guys? Spenny. In the year 2008, Jeffrey Epstein pled guilty to being a child predator and was put in federal prison. He should have remained there if we actually had a justice system at all in this country. But nonetheless, after that, you'd assume that polite society and very powerful people in our government would stay away from Jeffrey Epstein. These are the kind of things that you don't really come back from. Yet in 2010, at the marriage of his only daughter, Bill Clinton had in a place of honor Ghislaine Maxwell. Ghislaine Maxwell, who the original Epstein whistleblower, Virginia Roberts, says is the architect of the entire operation. What is that operation? Well, Ghislaine Maxwell's father was an Israeli spy, did arms deals throughout the world. I think you get the point. Ghislaine Maxwell also had a front row seat. She was ubiquitous at these things. It's far more likely that you see Ghislaine Maxwell in these photos than you see Jeffrey Epstein even. Like photos like this, where Bill Clinton is swimming, she's wearing a bikini, and a Jeffrey Epstein victim, our underage girl, no telling here, because she has the black box over her face, she's also wearing a bikini, but that bikini has fallen off in this next photo of Bill Clinton in a hot tub with the underage girl, trafficked girl. No telling, actually. But Ghislaine Maxwell could tell us everything about what was going on. She, of course, had a hands-on operation here, so much so that she was even trafficking women to the royal family, right? Here's Prince Andrew. This is Virginia Roberts, by the way, who says that Jeffrey Epstein was kind of dumb and that Ghislaine Maxwell was clearly the brains of the operation. We all know what Ghislaine Maxwell looks like. We've seen her in so many different photos. Obviously, you can see her all over the world. Some of these photos are quite famous. Here she is with her Israeli spy dad. So, what's going on with Ghislaine Maxwell? Recently, Ghislaine Maxwell has been in the news. Here's why. You can see some footage in the Epstein files of Ghislaine in prison. She's sort of putzing and doddering around. And, well, people are saying that it just looks like a pretty miserable life here, right? But what they're also noticing is that in a video, newly released video from prison, sure as hell looks like something has happened to Ghislaine Maxwell. Let's investigate. Ghislaine Maxwell pleads the fifth, but says she'll speak fully and honestly if Trump grants her clemency. She wants to get out of jail. She's going to serve the next 20 odd years in prison. She'll be out as a very old lady. And she released a video saying effectively she pleads the fifth with the new congressional hearing they have on Epstein. They subpoenaed her. They asked her to come in. This is a cabin that belongs to the Queen on the Queen's land. Isn't that something? And here was Ghislaine Maxwell effectively saying, I'm not going to tell you anything.
Ms. Maxwell, were you a close friend and confidant of Jeffrey Epstein?
I would like to answer your question, but on the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer this question and any related questions. My habeas petition is pending in the Southern District of New York.
Okay.
I therefore invoke my right to silence under the Fifth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution.
I'm going to go on for,
Let the record reflect that Ms. Maxwell has invoked the Fifth Amendment against self-incrimination. Ms. Maxwell, please be very clear. Are you declining to answer the question put to you solely on the ground that you believe the answer will incriminate you?
I invoke my Fifth Amendment right to silence.
Ms. Maxwell, did you at any time play any role in Jeffrey Epstein's activities involving the recruitment, grooming, or trafficking of young women or girls?
I invoke my Fifth Amendment right to silence.
So it goes back and it goes like that for the next couple of minutes. You can see here, this is the official video. This is the video that was posted by the GOP oversight.
Nice.
People are noticing something very odd, however, about this video. That, well, I mean, listen, she has been in prison for quite a while, but people are noticing that it doesn't really look like Ghislaine Maxwell. Using AI analysis for facial recognition, these two images are not the same person. Clear that two different individuals. Pay attention. The ears and nasal features. Oh my. Did they do a swap? They replaced her with an Iranian lesbian. No. Yeah. Eating a lot of carbs in prison. Prison seems to have butched up Ghislaine Maxwell. She's now new jawbone and new nose. Middle-aged spread, or quite clearly not the same woman. Not only Jeffrey Epstein not dead, but Ghislaine Maxwell is not in prison. The woman pictured is not Ghislaine Maxwell. Do they already swap Ghislaine Maxwell for a body double? Am I seeing things? Ghislaine Maxwell, please fifth. This is from news site. Oof. I mean, yeah, dude, it does seriously
Anybody see this yet?
like Michael Myers, right? Looks like Michael Myers playing Ghislaine Maxwell. People are saying it's not the same nose. Good morning. Ghislaine Maxwell's been replaced with a Chinese Temu cardboard cutout
I agree.
body double for her
They're all
deposition. You
learned.
can't make it up. Here we go. You're not ready for this conspiracy theory. Is Michael Myers playing Ghislaine Maxwell? And also, this is like clearly a perjury trap, right? You can see in newly released video that here's Ghislaine Maxwell bringing women in to Jeffrey Epstein's Palm Beach apartment. She's like effectively like just delivering women to him. What would this be for? Well, you can see in this email, the purpose of delivering women. You can see in this email from the Epstein files, the hidden camera pointing directly at a bed. Are you okay with this layout? The bed is in the rear of the room with the sofa in front. If you're sitting up in the bed, you can still see the entire screen. There you go. The secret cameras pointing at the bed, the emails with Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. Now their hidden camera footage finally being released. Ghislaine Maxwell knows so much. Sure as hell would be nice to know what she saw. I don't know, many of these fascinating situations.
Yep,
like when she's
Carol.
staring literally down the barrel of Chelsea Clinton's. Like, why were you at the Clintons' wedding? What did Bill Clinton do in this scenario?
Just about over.
But will we know if there's a body double? Oh, and one final little note here. Epstein jail guards used fake body to trick media waiting outside of the prison while pedophile's real corpse was loaded into a van, thrown into the trash compactor. Or maybe he's just living out his days in Tel Aviv. We don't really know, but wouldn't be the first time they used a fake body. So, guess we'll have to see. Ladies and gentlemen, is Ghislaine Maxwell even real? Or is she really in prison?
We don't know nothing. They won't tell us.
Let me know in the chat. Let me know. It's your boy Benny.
Yep, we won't know the truth till who knows when. So here's a photo of the shooter yesterday. Oh my God. There you go. Terrible, terrible, terrible. Here's another 7-minute one on this one lady on Telegram.
So Project Looking Glass was a
Did we play this one yet, Carol?
government operation to serve the elite class, to look into the future for the purposes of orchestrating the current state of being to shape whatever future they wanted. They could control the variables once they viewed.
Yeah, this
future.
might be a new one. It's a short
to
one.
ensure that certain outcomes played out. But what they saw horrified them. They did not like what they saw in the future. And no matter how they tried to manipulate it, There was no future outcome that served them. What they saw was all possible timelines led to a convergence. Meaning that no matter what timeline they rode, no matter what option, there was only one outcome.
Oh,
And
5
that
minutes.
outcome is light wins, and the ruling elite class is exposed and destroyed. That's what they saw that terrified them. And they tried and tried to punch as many holes through time and space as they could. That is what is going on with CERN. Trying to orchestrate or work out some other outcome. But there is no other outcome. There is no other outcome, is the problem.
Morning, Lori. Well,
But what we are living through now, this chaos that we're living through now,
okay, thanks. Yep, I know a
Is-
lot of people are at work.
their final attempt to maintain control. These are their death rattles because it is all falling apart. And there is
Pretty
nothing
good.
they can do about it.
Important stuff here.
And they already knew, they already saw this was coming. So it's sort of a no holds bar fight now. They have nothing to lose. And they have to try everything they can think of. But there is no workaround to this situation because light wins. So I mentioned that to bring your awareness to we're in the middle of a psyop right now. This is a psychological operative that we're living through right now. This is part of their strategy. This psychological operative is designed to make us feel helpless,
3 minutes.
hopeless, powerless, defeated. That's how they want us to feel. That's what they want us to believe. They want the current system to stay in place because they're the ones in control right now. They're the puppet masters. They want things to remain the same. And they want to dupe us into also holding on to the status quo. We have to let the system fall apart. We have to let the system crumble because they're the ones running the system and their time is over. So get your head in the game, understand what is happening. Understand that when the world seems like it's falling apart, our governmental system seems like it's falling apart, when it seems like sanity has left the planet, this has to happen. This is part of the convergence. All of these wrongdoings, all of this evil has to be brought to light. And all these systems that have supported and housed and shielded these evil people, those systems have to come down. They have to come down. Don't fight for them to stay in place, because you are fighting for the elite to stay in power. We have to let the collapse happen. So, as we move through this chaos and uncertainty and uncomfortableness, remember, this is part of the convergence. This is what is supposed to be happening. And the outcome is light wins. There is only one possible outcome. There is no other outcome. The only possible outcome is light wins. And they know it.
Another important video. I got the next two are 3 minutes.
It may be a bitter pill to swallow for Anons, to watch them gloat in public, but our disdain will turn to joy when public justice finally arrives. It'll be that much sweeter now that we waited, believed, and fought through this precipice with our heads held high. The struggle is what makes it so special. The price you paid is not to be swept under the rug. God remembers everything you've gone through for him. He sees and won't allow the cabal to achieve their desired goal. He has deliverance planned, and he is pleased to have you share in his joy and play your God-given role. Victory is coming. He won't abandon us. We're living his deliverance plan. Think about how the enemy works against the children when a deliverance comes. In Moses' day, they murdered many children to stop him from coming, but this was to no avail. In Jesus' day, the same moment happened, and we know how that turned out. Now let this sink in. The enemy has sacrificed more children than any moment in the history of the world. What are they so afraid of? If precedent is anything to take note of, we are witnessing a full-scale war against our generation. The enemy hates deliverance, and we know he usually targets the children when he senses something special happening. Think about it. I would argue that we are walking through a modern-day exodus, but on a global scale that is absolutely unprecedented. Millions of children are being slaughtered, and I would argue that it is because they fear the fall of Babylon. We were slaves to Mystery Babylon and its rulers, and they are panicking. Here is the good news. God never fails. He didn't fail in Moses' day. He didn't fail when Jesus destroyed their works, and he will not fail in our generation as he delivers us from the cabal. God is winning. The Great Awakening will be written about in history books. Anons will be looked back on kindly as the ragtag group of patriot digital soldiers who worked to wake people up to the corrupt rulers whose time was coming. Hold your head up high, Anon. We were part of a spark that set the world on fire. There is absolutely no stopping what has begun. Everything the enemy does is brought back against him. Think of the plagues of Egypt. Every single one only hit the enemy in the end, and God's people thrived. A day is coming when everything that they have will be taken from them, perhaps suddenly. And you, the Anon, have front row seats for the great moment of our time. And I think that is something worth thanking God about. Even though we experience the bitterness of awakening before much of the world, our elation will be unlimited when the day comes. Goodbye, Mystery Babylon. The light is shining and your days of rule are coming to a glorious end.
Okay, I thought that was a important one there. Got a news update here.
Our training includes 4. Well, a third now been indicted in the federal case against the Kingdom of God Global Church, and the church leader is facing more charges after he and his two executives were accused of operating a money laundering and forced labor operation. Let's bring in Fox 13's Kylie Jones, joining us on our newsroom with the latest developments on this ongoing case. Kylie, what more did you find out?
Well, Mark, if you remember, that whole operation was uncovered this past summer. David Taylor is the man allegedly behind it all, and again, he referred to himself as apostle. Well, he's now facing some new federal charges related to trafficking, but we're we're also learning from a new indictment that a third person has been charged in this case. That is Kathleen Klein, who, according to that indictment, was known as Prophetess. The feds say Klein and Michelle Brannon, who was also arrested in Tampa Bay back in the summer, helped Taylor run call centers around the country. The FBI raided a number of those call centers, including one inside this mansion in the affluent Avila neighborhood in Hillsborough County. Court documents previously revealed the workers inside these call centers were allegedly put through mental and physical abuse, while the head honchos were spending millions of dollars in earnings on luxury items. Now, Klein is being named in those documents, and she's accused of being another enforcer of Taylor's demands and punishments. The indictment includes texts that Klein allegedly sent to the managers of a Houston center threatening heavy labor and physical abuse. Now, meanwhile, Taylor, who's been behind bars since his arrest in August, is facing new charges of conspiracy to establish peonage, slavery, involuntary servitude, or trafficking. This new indictment accuses him of requesting and receiving sexually explicit pictures and videos from female victims within the church. The feds say some of those victims were afraid of disobeying Taylor. Now, the Kingdom of God Global Church, which was also previously known as Joshua Media Ministries, does appear to still be operating in some capacity. Last month, the church filed documents demanding its money and assets back because the church itself hadn't been charged with wrongdoing. And according to the church's YouTube page, which we checked earlier today, it's still holding Sunday services, with the most recent one being posted this weekend. Mark.
All right, Kylie Jones on this for us. Introduce him. Kylie, thanks much.
Hey, another church incident. Next one's 5 minutes. Aaron with Lindsey Graham.
Those with Iranian backgrounds, good, decent people, people who care, people who don't want to see terrorists in power, people who want the Iranian people to reclaim what is rightfully theirs, their home, their land, their lives. Lindsey Graham, Senator, has been so good in this space. I mentioned a couple of weeks ago he'd posted something about a deal, et cetera, and I went, oh no. And not so much did I worry that he'd changed his tune. I didn't for a second think he had. I thought he must know the administration is heading down that path. And he was trying to make, well, essentially the best possible situation with what was potentially on offer. But that's been flipped. President Trump is now talking about leadership in Iran and how we need changes. The rhetoric has hardened up, which is a good thing. Lindsey Graham got up on stage in Munich and spoke to a crowd of hundreds of thousands of people protesting. Yes, protesters. This is what you should protest against: terror, not your law enforcement officers who are cleaning up your streets of criminals. But that is a side note. What I want to present to you, American people, particularly America-onlyers, that sounded very AOC, didn't it? It's okay, she'll do a segment on her show and she can take the mickey out of me, that's fine. She'll probably have a show soon when the Democrats boot her. Looking forward to that. In fact, looking at some of the podcasters that have big audiences, she might just do well. Oh, Lord, we will see. But I want to present this juxtaposition to you, American-onlyers. Iran, the country, is very wealthy, very powerful, very capable of either doing immense evil in the world or immense good. With the Ayatollah, the Islamic regime in place and in power, they are the head of this octopus that is responsible for the vast majority of terrorism around the world. They have Xi Jinping and Putin on speed dial. Not to mention North Korea. Poor North Korea, they get forgotten about a lot recently, don't they? I wonder if they're considering doing something semi-evil just to get back in the mix. I wonder what they are up to. Again, that's a conversation for another time. But let's put these two images and scenarios side by side. The Iran with the Ayatollah in charge, who has a bounty on the American president's head. Your American president, President Donald Trump, wants him dead. They chant, "Death to America, death to America." They're responsible for the lives of American soldiers that have been slain all over the world. They have murdered tens of thousands, if not more, of their own people in the last month. Or do you want an Iran again, capable of doing very powerful things, to have the people in charge, i.e. the people that were at this rally in Europe, who when Lindsey Graham, an American senator, got up on stage, chanted USA. USA, USA. Do you want an Iran with these guys in charge? Or do you, as Americans, want an Iran with these guys in charge? You can be America only all you like, but they don't care about that. They still want to kill you. The evil still wants you dead. You can't be America only because they don't get the memo and they don't care. Lindsey Graham spoke brilliantly. Have a little look.
Make Iran great again. Morgan, your hat made it to Munich. Make Iran great by picking the people, not the Ayatollah. Make Iran great by putting the people in charge. God bless you all. Iran will be great again when the people are in charge. Help is on the way.
Well,
A shout out to our
Aaron talking about Lindsey Graham. Okay, this first one will be 15 minutes. Oprah time.
Luck. A string of unfortunate coincidences. Unfortunately for Oprah, the Epstein files have blown open an entire grotesque subculture of trafficking, consumption, and depravity on an industrial scale. Hundreds of high-level elites and major companies are implicated in the files. And according to Epstein files investigators, one name connects them all. Oprah Winfrey, the daytime TV queen trusted in millions of homes, now faces explosive accusations from multiple Epstein survivors. They call her the broker, allegedly trafficking vulnerable children to the world's most powerful men, then keeping cruel mementos of their suffering, body parts that she wears as gold-encrusted jewelry, even while offering sympathy on air to grieving mothers searching for their missing daughters. Strap yourself in. This one goes from 1 to 100 very fast, and we're not slowing down for anyone. Before we dive in, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and join the People's Voice Locals community to join our incredible community, support the channel, and gain access to exclusive and uncensored content. Oprah Winfrey's public image has already cracked. Those ties to Harvey Weinstein, Jeffrey Epstein's circle, and John of God, her personal faith healer, who she promoted until he was sentenced to 370 years in prison for running a global baby trafficking empire.
Miracle worker or monster? He's known as John of God, a celebrity faith healer whose followers claim he can miraculously cure diseases such as cancer. But now the once beloved guru is accused of abusing hundreds of women.
Now, bombshell Epstein documents reveal that a woman stated on record that Epstein offered her money to birth babies for black market use. She also linked John of God to Jeffrey Epstein and Oprah, who allegedly connected the two. According to sources close to the investigations, Oprah has been hiding in plain sight, rubbing shoulders with some of the most infamous names in child trafficking and exploitation, all while using her public platform to slowly, methodically normalize the unthinkable.
People don't understand. A big part of the confusion and shame for child victims is that the attention and the seduction from the predator, who is probably going to be somebody you know. Right. In order for it to work, it has to be somebody you know, somebody you admire, somebody you respect, or maybe even love. You're 7 years old and someone is stroking your it feels good. I have said for years, if the abuser is any good, you won't even know it's happened.
FBI insiders are finally saying out loud what our research has been exposing for years. Oprah wasn't just merely Jeffrey Epstein's associate. She wasn't just John of God's friend. She was their partner in crime. Investigators have uncovered proof that she played a direct role in funneling vulnerable children and newborn babies straight into the hands of the global elites, while the Hollywood elite showered her with praise. And she graciously accepted every glittering trophy, including Disney's own Legend Award, the highest honor the Mouse House bestows.
We're not defined by a show. I think we are defined by the way we treat ourselves and the way we treat other people.
To the most wonderful person in the world, you represent the best of our country. You are a hero to mankind.
The fact that I'm here matters. The fact that you're there matters. This is no accident.
All while she was quietly orchestrating something far more sinister behind the scenes. Disney cruise ships, packed with wide-eyed kids, routinely docked in Little St. James.
It was showing a photo of him at Disney. He's sitting down at the table, Piglet's behind him. It's him and another guy sitting down, and this guy is holding this girl, like by her arms like this. That same girl is in another photo with Epstein. They're on the plane. She's like she's sleeping, she's laying down, and he's holding her like this. Then, come to find out, Disney sent kids to his island for snorkeling trips for like 9 years.
Snorkeling.
And their cruise ships made stops at his island all the time.
Dude.
Coincidence? At this point, who'd even believe
How's
that?
this one so far,
This
guys?
isn't some random association. This is organized. This is RICO-level conspiracy. Industrial-scale crimes against the most innocent among us. And they didn't stop at private islands or desert ranches. Oprah and Epstein weaponized their access to the highest levels of power, turning boardrooms into extensions of their network.
Here are some brands that were found in the Epstein files. Life Touch, the brand that takes 90% of our school pictures and also facilitates JCPenney photos. Yeah, they basically been giving our pictures up so it could be a catalog for these predators to look through so they could see what kids they want. Wayfair was mentioned just short of 400 times in the files. So yes, y'all were completely right, and it was not a conspiracy theory when everyone was saying that Walmart and Wayfair are listing shoes and furniture at $100,000 price tags with the names of real children that were missing. It was not a conspiracy. They were really doing that. Victoria's Secret, Bath & Body Works, White Barn, and Pink. They're all owned by Les Wexner, and he is in the Epstein files. It's everyone.
The Epstein files reveal that he purchased Wayfair furniture for his close friend Woody Allen. Nothing to see here, folks. And then there's the bombshell from Epstein survivor Juliette Bryant. Someone who lived the horror, was trafficked, drugged, and imprisoned across his properties. She reveals Epstein didn't just know Oprah, he bragged to insiders that he held a controlling stake in the OWN network. And Oprah's entire media empire was just another cog in the elite blackmail and control machine. For those who are following the money, this is a rabbit hole to go down.
People must just watch the movie The Island. It explains it all. But then also another branch of that could be taking eggs from women, because if these bastards really do drink adrenochrome and children, it would make sense for them to have their own farm of children, and then it would make sense for them to take eggs. Again, it's just something I've considered.
And absolutely, and there's evidence of that on the top level of Oprah being involved with John of God. That was a child. That was a farm for women having children.
I was told that Epstein owned Oprah's network. I was told that he owned L'Oreal and he owned Oprah's network, which is called King Network. Someone told me that along the way when I was there.
Epstein bragged about turning the place into an underground baby factory, a twisted vision of impregnating young girls, harvesting their children, and seeding what he called his superior bloodline. Eugenics on steroids. Pure nightmare fuel, courtesy of Oprah Winfrey and her network. Epstein victim Hope Beryl Green reveals that aborted babies were being experimented on in a cryogenic kind of machine, all done underground at Zorro Ranch.
I mean, Epstein was there were babies that had been aborted or that were aborted by them, and they were in like a cryogenic kind of a machine that they were doing experiments on. That was very done underground, of course. He had a lot of connections. Stephen Hawkins was there, and it was a lot of evil was done through him. or what he was actually saying, kind of communicating, this is what I want you to do to this child.
Flight logs, eyewitness accounts, redacted DOJ files, sealed grand jury testimony. Multiple sources now place Oprah boots on the ground at Zorro Ranch. Not once, multiple times. What exactly was Oprah's job title when she walked the tunnels under Zorro Ranch? Was she Epstein's recruiter? His high priestess in the dark? Now, thanks to brave whistleblowers, we're going deeper than we've ever gone before. But first, an important word from our sponsor. Millions of dog owners have been fed the lie that keeping our pets healthy is rocket science. Joint pain, bad breath, low energy? It's not just aging, it's a scam. Dr. Marty Goldstein, a renegade holistic vet, says that one toxic compound found in most dog foods is wrecking your pup's health. Big dog food sneaks it in, and the media stays silent, keeping you and your dog in the dark. After years of research, Dr. Marty is blowing the lid off with a free video. The truth on what to stop feeding your dog to help it live a full and healthy life. Visit healthydog1.com/TPV. The link's below. That's healthydog1.com/TPV. Watch it today, because you won't believe how simple this really is. The Epstein drops are just the beginning. Names, flights, payoffs. But follow the trail to Brazil, and you see the end
6
game.
minutes.
A world where elites, including Oprah, thought they could get away with murder.
The cult leader gained international fame in 2010 when US TV star Oprah Winfrey visited his retreat to interview him for her talk show. Oprah wrote that upon meeting him, she felt faint and left feeling an overwhelming sense of peace. No mention of the children he kept as slaves, the babies he trafficked around the world to the highest bidder, or his own daughter, who has now come forward and saying that she was from the age of 9.
The question is how much longer until the floodgates break wide open. Brave whistleblowers have implicated Oprah for years, exposing her connections to Bill Clinton, Naomi Campbell, and the spirit cooker herself, Marina Abramovich. To understand how dangerous this rabbit hole remains, understand this.
What do you guys think of this?
Those whistleblowers are now dead.
Bittencourt said she'd received reports of the newborns being sold for up to £40,000 in Europe, the United States, and Australia. She added, "These girls were murdered after 10 years of giving birth. We have got a number of testimonies." Shockingly, she claimed the young girls were held captive in remote farms where they were forced to produce babies before being murdered after 10 years of giving birth.
Thanks, Laurie.
Bill Clinton and supermodel Naomi Campbell are among the high-profile celebrities to have reportedly visited the 77-year-old healer at his compound. Guess who else worked with the monster from Brazil? None other than famed spirit cooker Marina Abramovich, who shot a documentary film there in 2016 called The Space in Between.
The true heroes in this fight, the whistleblowers, deserve our undying gratitude and every ounce of protection we can muster. These are the insiders, the ones who've walked those gilded corridors, seen the files, heard the deals struck in blood. When they step forward, armed with intel that pins Oprah as the broker, the shadowy architects orchestrating it all from her throne of influence, the elite don't hesitate. They mark them for elimination. Hits ordered, lives erased. But tonight, one such brave soul has come to us. Under the veil of anonymity, with protections in place, they're ready to blow the lid off.
I can't even breathe right when I think about her net worth now. It's like something's got their fist around my heart and just keeps squeezing harder every time a new memory claws its way up. That woman, Oprah, she didn't just traffic kids. She built highways of pain that circle the whole damn planet. I'm talking planes leaving private airstrips in Florida at 3 a.m. with terrified little faces pressed to the windows, landing in places I can't even pronounce without wanting to vomit. From crumbling orphanages outside Kiev when they'd hand over girls for a couple €1,000 and a promise nobody ever kept, to villages in Nigeria where mothers still cry themselves to sleep because their baby girl vanished after a model scout showed up with cash and a smile. Asia, Africa, South America, right here in the US. She had superhighways driving straight into the hands of the richest, sickest men on earth. I was there for some of the handoffs. I saw the way her people moved. It was efficient. like they were delivering furniture instead of children. Private jets with blacked out windows, yachts that never stayed in one port too long, limos pulling up to back entrances of five-star hotels while the world snapped pictures of her out front being the big celebrity. She'd walk through those rooms afterward like she was inspecting inventory, deciding who got upgraded to the really bad parties, who got broken just enough to stay quiet forever. And the keepsakes. Jesus Christ, the keepsakes. She'd collect pieces of their bodies like some twisted bitch collecting souvenirs. A tooth here, a tiny slice of clitoris there. Always the same sick rituals so they couldn't bite. And pleasure was dead forever. Then she had been turned into jewelry. Delicate little chains, earrings, bracelets. Stuff that caught the light while she sat on live TV nodding sympathetically at a grieving mother begging for her missing daughter. Jeff made us all sit down and watch that episode. I saw the necklace. Small, perfect pearls that weren't pearls. The mother was sobbing, clutching a photo, and Oprah reached over, patted her hand, and that chain swung forward just enough for me to recognize the shape. I almost threw up. I wanted to scream, rip it off her neck, shove it in that mother's face that she'd know her baby wasn't coming home. Every night I still hear those kids. Their screams live in my skull like a radio I can't turn off. And she sleeps on silk sheets in houses that cost more than entire villages, wearing pieces of them around her neck like it's nothing, like it's fashion. I hate her so much it feels like acid in my veins. I hate the men who paid her. I hate the silence that let her keep doing it for decades. But most of all, I hate that part of me still feels small and scared. Like if I speak too loud, she'll find me again.
Everything we're dropping here is the kind of material that gets hard drives wiped, servers torched, and people suicided before breakfast. If you're doing your own research and digging into dangerous topics online, you need to be protected. Legacy VPNs? Forget it. Proton is literally funded by the WEF and the EU. Let that sink in. Express, Nord, Surfshark, they all keep logs. They all cave to warrants. They're all headquartered in 5914 ICE countries. That will hand over your IP faster than you can blink. You need something that cannot betray you. That's VP.net, the world's first trustless VPN. No central servers they can raid, no logs they can seize because there's nothing to seize. It runs on blockchain nodes spread across thousands of independent operators. Even if the entire US government demands your data, there's no one to hand it over to. It's mathematically impossible to de-anonymize you. Do it before you dig any deeper. vp.net/TPV. That's all it takes to keep your searches, your passwords, your fingerprints, your downloads, and your late night rabbit holes completely private. No logs, no backdoors, no subpoenas that ever get answered. vp.net/TPV. One click and you're gone. Smart people are already there. See you on the other side.
Wow, that was a big Oprah video from that guy. He does a great job. All right, if that wasn't a good one, we got more, lots more stuff. We got, guess what state's going to be next, you guys? I got one from Nick Shirley. Is going to be 26 minutes, if anybody didn't catch that yesterday. It starts with a C word letter. 26 minutes on this one. I gotta find it. I thought I had it. Oh, here it is.
Ladies and gentlemen, what if I told you that a dog successfully registered to vote in the state of California in Gavin Newsom's utopia? Well, that's true. That's what Elon Musk said after watching Nick Shirley's latest exposure of fraud in California. Yep. And I'm not shocked because I've been talking about election integrity since November 3rd, 2020, when we were bestowed with the safest and most secure election in American history, according to the people who committed the shenanigans, right? The people who rigged it came out and said it was safer and secure, more secure than anyone can possibly imagine. So Nick Shirley is in California right now, and he just uploaded a pretty long video. It's about 20 minutes long of him going to various places that are registered to vote. Dogs are registered to vote. Buildings are registered to vote. Parking lots are registered to anything. Any Democrats will register anything to vote. And it's good to see someone with Nick Shirley's platform size talking about it. I think it's a massive topic. It's more important than the Somali fraud. Yeah, the Somalis steal billions, but how do the politicians who allow the Somalis, enable them to steal the billions, get into office? That's the most important part. That's the fraud that I thought everyone else should have been talking about. Yes, it matters that Ilhan Omar and the pirates are taking money and sending it to Somalia to build their houses and mansions. Sure, that matters. But Ilhan Omar would not be in office if she wasn't caught or doing what she did, which was buy votes with $100, $50. I'm not kidding. James O'Keefe caught this way back then. Ilhan Omar's campaign was paying people for votes. So here's what we're going to do. We are going to sit here, and I'm going to let you guys absorb this information from Nick Shirley. I will interject and, add some pieces of information that people might not know. But I want everyone watching this to be informed about this. The DOJ should be very much informed. They are pushing to get access to these voter rolls before the midterms. Someone said I'm back. Yeah, we haven't done a live stream in like 2 weeks. So this is wow, that's crazy. It's just been videos. All right, let's go into this.
We're just looking for these individuals as they're registered to vote here. John Thomas and Philip Thomas. Is Gloria here by chance? Because she's 100 years old and she voted last election from here.
Can you see my? I said I wasn't.
I just want to make sure you're not 126 years old.
No, I'm not.
And do you think it's possible like illegal migrants could be voting?
Not really.
Do you know where the ballots might have gone? Like for 108 people, that were registered here?
When it comes to fraud, most people think about money. However, there's another potential massive fraud story taking place in America, one tied to the most consequential system in our country, which is our voting system. This has to do with everything about who runs the country and how elections are actually controlled. And if we don't have voter integrity, what even are we? And there's one state that is the breeding ground for potential voting fraud, and that is California, where it can take up to 1 month to count all of the votes, no voter ID, and millions of ballots are cast by mail. And with voter rolls that are extremely vulnerable to errors, such as over 200 people who are over the age of 125 years old registered to vote in certain areas. And now to see how easy it is to vote, I headed to the location to register to vote inside the state of California. Now, this is the register of voters right here. And I want to ask him, why don't you need voter ID to vote here inside of California? I was curious, how come in California you don't need voter ID to vote?
Because when you sign your affidavit, you're swearing that you're telling us the truth, and we compare the signature that you put on your application to the
Battery
signature
65%.
Mm-hmm. Do you think it leaves any room for error with voter ID, or? Yeah, I'm just curious because I want to make sure that our elections are as fair and.
Well, what's interesting is in Maricopa County, they didn't verify the signatures. So they say, okay, you don't need an ID, you just need a sign that what you're saying, who you are, is legal. You're a legal qualified voter. But then they don't even check the signature. So it's just ridiculous.
Honest as possible. And I feel like voter ID is just something super simple to have. And do you think it's possible like illegal migrants could be voting?
Not really. How? I mean, what was showing the ID?
Yeah, if they don't have their ID and they could just sign on behalf of Richard Sherman, then they could technically vote, right?
They would be right.
Yeah.
And if no one's checking if they're lying, then what do you have?
But what if they just don't care? What if like Richard Sherman and Billy Bob Joe just don't care? But so you don't think illegals would ever vote, would you?
I don't think so.
No.
Same.
So instead of showing your ID, you sign your signature and then it is scanned to verify it is you. So technically speaking, anyone could show up saying they are someone, and if the signature is similar, that vote will then count. And with millions of people voting, it leaves room for fraud to occur. Just take these two examples.
A Southern California woman is facing 5 felonies after registering her dog to vote in 2 elections. The dog's vote was even counted in one of those elections. Those behind the stunt say she did it to show the flaws of the current system.
Hundreds of people who cast.
So just so you understand, that lady she published that I did that, and they prosecuted her. She was a whistleblower. She was a whistleblower acting in good faith to prove a problem with our system. California. Colorado has the same system too, to be fair. And they prosecuted the whistleblower because she registered her dog to prove, hey, look, this is actually like how the system actually works. And the only way they know she committed a crime is because she told on herself.
These transforming glasses automatically adjust to what you're looking at. All glasses have this tiny flaw, but we fixed it. You see, the lenses inside prescription glasses
votes according to state records, but we found they've been dead for years, including a woman who died in 1988, and records show she somehow voted in 2014, 26 years after she passed away. Then there's Julita Abutin. Records show she voted in Norwalk in 2014, 2012, 2010, and 2008. The only problem is she's buried here at Forest Lawn. Abutin died in 2006. Is it possible your mother voted in 2014?
There's no way.
Abutin's daughter Maravik says it's certainly impossible that her mother voted, but the LA County Registrar confirms they have signed vote-by-mail envelopes with her mother's name for the 2014 and 2012 election, even though she died 10 years ago.
So it's not some crazy conspiracy theory to think that people are illegally voting inside the state of California. And with the state receiving millions of illegal migrants, the opportunities for fraud now are even higher as millions of undocumented people are living inside of the state. Now let's go meet up with a man by the name of Urson, who has dedicated years of his life digging through voter rolls, finding fraud and inconsistencies throughout the state. So how bad is the voter fraud here in California?
Well, we actually don't know because law enforcement isn't really investigating it, and we don't have people qualified to actually figure that out.
And what kind of fraud is taking place?
Well, we have voter rolls of about 22 to 23 million people in California. And we have just in Orange County, per se, there's 60 to 70,000 changes a month that happens. So the amount of time and effort to go and follow up with every one of those, we just don't have the resources to do that.
And so what information have you been collecting about the voting fraud here in California?
We have people that are still in our rolls from 2008 that are still getting ballots mailed to them that haven't voted in 18, 16 years.
And so they haven't voted.
And this is true. My landlord from Colorado moved to California, and I assume they get ballots in their new residence in California. But I got ballots for them. Like they sent extra ballots with their name on them, even though they had moved years ago, years before I even got here. So that tells you this is a bad problem. I do want to move to this point where they start moving around I think it's Los Angeles, if I'm not mistaken, around the area to see, some of the locations that, some of these ballots are coming
Hey,
from.
Paul.
Now, if you look right down there,
News.
they're going to an
Welcome.
assisted
This is your
living and
first
memory
time in,
care facility,
Chat.
which voted.
Thanks for coming and support.
And they
Make
have
you respectful. Thank you.
45 registered voters.
Registered, and 41 of them actually turned out to vote in the last election. So that's just, again, not typical for 55 to 70% turnout. So it's a mental crisis senior rehabilitation center. So we're just going to go there and see, is there 45 people there? Is there beds? And check it out.
Mind asking what state
This
you're
is how
from?
to tell if
I
your
like
olive
to ask
oil
what
is
state. I'm
fake.
from Michigan.
You've been using olive oil.
Can we speak to supervisor?
Hello, how are you?
Yeah, it looks like there was maybe 41 of 45 people that are registered here. Does that seem low or high to you? Like as far as how many patients or residents you have?
That's probably not accurate anymore.
So that lady right there said that that's probably not accurate.
We
Right.
got a long
So this could be a
northeast of England. Wow. Thanks for finding me. I don't know how you found me. We got a couple far ones. We got one from Spain, and the other one is from Special Sergeant was somewhere. I can't remember. We got a few. We got Australia. I don't know how long. I can't remember how long you've been, but appreciate listening. How about y'all there?
huge location where hundreds of votes could be casted from this one location. She said that numbers sound like they're inaccurate, 41 out of 45.
Correct. So is there a lot more people that could be registered to vote and could be having their voices expressed?
Well, let's move on to the next location.
You got it.
Now we're here in the University of San Diego because they got lots of voters here. But what's the deal with this location?
It's some sort of institute for peace and justice. So it doesn't seem like you'd have a lot of voters like registered at some sort of an administrative office, but it very well could be. There's students that are all over the place here. So maybe it's some sort of a central mailing house or something like that.
You have a conference room, you have Garden of the Sky, the Kroc School, classrooms, conference rooms, anything but dorms. And this is the location where 58 people are registered to vote here inside of the state of California.
Is this like a central mailing location, like this building for students and stuff?
No, this one is not. So we do have a mail center.
Because right here on the John B. Kroc Institute for Peace and Justice, it says we had 58 registered to vote and 50 people voted from this location.
So it's 5998 Alcala Park. You're saying
is the entire university.
Is the entire university. So where do the ballots go?
I have no clue.
Okay.
I've never seen them.
So far, we're 0 for 2 as far as getting any clarity about where these votes are being cast from here.
Yeah, or any sort of real clarity.
And at these locations, when there's only around 40 to 50 people registered to vote, in locations where there's hundreds and thousands of people, it leaves lots of room for speculations, especially when nobody actually knows what the real count is and where the votes are being casted from. And just a reminder, all this information from Urson is the most up-to-date information from the Secretary of State of California as far as the voter rolls go. The fraud continues. Now we're outside of a extra space, a storage unit location. Here, 5 people are registered to vote.
Correct.
Did they cast their votes?
3 of them did in the 24 election. Then we had one that cast a ballot in the 2020 election and one that's never voted. The point is that unless this is a primary residence, right, or where you can sleep, right, which no one's supposed to by law allowed to sleep in their public storage unit, then this is not a legal registration. And these are the things that the county continues to let slip through the cracks.
Let's see if they're here. We have the names of all 5 people. Let's see if they're here. How's it going, sir?
How are you doing today?
Good. We're just looking for a few people here. We have Lily Morey, Philip Thomas, Sydney Thomas, Robert Thomas. We're just looking for these individuals as they're registered to vote here.
Did you have people that live here at Extra Space?
Are you Robert Thomas?
Oh, okay. Okay, so who gave you this list real quick?
Oh, from the Secretary of State.
Yeah, it's publicly available information.
What about Robert, Sydney, Philip, and Lily Thomas? What about them? Do they also get their ballots here? Robert Thomas, Sydney Thomas,
that man has no idea what's going on. Because this is quite frankly how it works. Democrats inflate the voter rolls. This is what I've been talking about when I say bloated voter rolls. They inflate the voter rolls with real people, people that might have moved out of state. You hear about dead people a lot because that's the most outrageous one to hear. And so that sticks out. But the real problem isn't really with dead people. That's like a smaller portion of the issue with the
12 minutes. I'm going to go to 12 o'clock at the first show.
The bigger categories of inflation come from people who moved out of the state. So, you know, you moved, you packed your bags, you're gone. You're not supposed to be registered there. You're out of that state. I think that's the biggest category. Well, I don't think, I know. So if you have, 1,000 dead people in a precinct, you probably have at least 3,000 people who are on those rolls that moved. So it's a big problem. And I love that Nick Shirley is just asking these people, hey, do you know this person? Do you know that person? And just like, I've never heard that name before. Because a lot of the times what they do is these Democrat NGOs on the ground, when they are, building their turnout apparatus, they'll go to homeless people and say, hey, man, you going to vote for Gavin Newsom? And then that homeless person is going to be like, no, he spent like $20 billion on homelessness and I'm still homeless. Be like, hey, we'll slide you some money, something like that. And then they'll say, but I don't have an address. How can I register? And then they'll say, okay, but we have a solution. We're going to register you out of this parking lot. And that person goes, okay, man, I'll take the free food, because to them, their vote means nothing. That's the most valuable thing they have. If you're homeless, hey, give me $50. I'll buy that fentanyl. Like, that's really what these people think about. So you have to put yourself in the mind of a Democrat operative who is getting paid a lot of money. They're not volunteers. They're paid to work by NGOs funded by George Soros and others. Just think about what they're willing to do to get power, to get their candidate to win, and to make as much money as possible.
John Thomas and Philip Thomas. Do you know where any of those individuals are? Any of the Thomases?
No, they're not here right now.
There's no one living in storage facilities, right? That's
No,
really
right?
the question, right? Just wondering if people are actually living in storage facilities.
So 5 people are registered to vote here. They confirmed that nobody lives here. A little fishy. California's got some weird things going on. So 5 people, and they didn't know where any of the Thomases were, but this is their primary location.
Well, if those 2 people actually live here and this is where they stay, their primary residence, right? They get their driver's license here, their tax stuff comes here. It's completely legal. But the other people that are here that they didn't know or do know or so forth, right? Are they someone that was just getting something in a storage facility? So,
but this is a storage facility. There's no apartments here.
No.
Nobody's living here.
Not inside the storage facilities. But if the couple that we spoke to is actually, this is their primary residence, that would be legal under state law.
But for these 5 people that are registered in that cast,
That's not their primary residence. They work there. I get the point, though. And here's yet another one. People registered at a UPS location.
address to receive your mail, but for it to be on the voter registration form and for the voter rolls, it must be your domicile address, your primary address. Now we're going to start going to some of these locations where people have put their primary addresses as PO boxes. In locations like the one we're about to go to, over 30 people are registered to vote at this one UPS store. With this fraud, a lot of these people registered to vote have their primary residency at a UPS store or United States Postal Service location. Right here, we have over 30 people that are registered to vote, and all these people right here, there's over 30 of them, are registered to vote, and this is their location, and a large majority of them actually voted in the 2024 election against Trump and Joe Biden. And right here, we have Gloria. Gloria voted in the last election. She's 100 years old.
Yeah, born in 1925. Still kicking.
What do you think about over 30 people are registered to vote in this UPS store right here? Is that a little strange to you?
Is it through PO boxes?
Yeah.
I don't know. What are you trying to do, or what are you trying to prove?
That's how you know she's a liberal. What do you mean? What are you trying to prove? Okay, it's just wrong, lady. Doesn't matter what their intention is. When they say it to you, you just go, that's wrong.
So you have to re-register where you live, right? Where your primary residence is. And so if you've got a primary residence that's a UPS store, there's a real tiny houses, inside the UPS store for people to live in.
Probably. What's your guys' affiliation?
My name's
We're just
Nick
citizens.
Shirley.
Yeah.
Could you live inside a PO box?
No.
So do you think it's a little strange that here in California you have lots of people who are registered to vote from these PO boxes? Meanwhile, you don't even have to show your ID when you go and vote.
I don't want to be part of the whole MAGA storyline. Thank you.
This isn't a MAGA storyline, man. This is just the straight up facts. Now we're going in. How are you guys doing? Yeah. Could we talk to somebody? No. This is super important.
I wonder if she tipped them off, but yeah, they go to a few more locations, ask some locals, what they think and everything. Kind of curious with this man here. I'm going to end this very shortly. I don't want to drag this on too long, but let's see what this guy has to say.
California should require voter ID.
Do I think that voters should require voter ID?
Yes.
No.
Why not?
Why?
How come you need an ID when you go to the airport?
I don't know why you got to do that either.
So do you think it's possible to have fair elections here in the United States if people don't prove who they actually are by giving their ID when they go and vote?
I can't believe Nick Shirley really doing a great job. Lady walking away, and then this guy here. Oh my God.
That's too, I can't even answer that. Because I'm like this, if you hear...
Chuck Schumer might be right, man. Black people might not be able to get... Oh, man. Well, look, amazing work by Nick Shirley. I mean, this guy's back must hurt from carrying journalism in the last few months. I have to say this because it's true. It's tough to do election integrity. People ask, why aren't congressional Republicans doing more? The SAVE Act is important, and they did get the 50 votes or co-sponsors needed in the Senate to make it real, right? To bring it forward. So we have Susan Collins signed on to that. She's the 50th, meaning if it was voted on and it was 50-50, J.D. Vance would break the tie and it would be 51 to 50. So the SAVE Act is in a really good spot. The SAVE Act would require proof of citizenship for vote registrants and people who go to renew their registration, meaning everyone has to prove they are a U.S. citizen with different documents, whether it's a passport, birth certificate, etc. On the other side, on the other hand, you have voter ID on the SAVE Act, which is a national requirement for it. The federal government can do that. But the problem in the country is you can't get rid of mail-in ballots because according to Article 1, Section 4, Clause 1 of the Constitution, all the times, places, and manner of holding federal elections shall be prescribed by the legislature in the state thereof. What does that mean? Well, California can choose the time. We have a time for federal elections, right? So Tuesday, November. So whether that's November 3rd, November 5th, 8th, whatever the first Tuesday in November is for federal, presidential, or congressional elections, midterms and whatnot. And then that's the federal time. Manner, that's where the states can decide if they want to do mail-in ballots or just in person on election day voting, or they want to count with machines or not use machines. This is where that ambiguity comes in. So that's the problem we have, which is we have decentralized elections. I wouldn't say it's a problem, but I'd say if you are trying to reform and have a consistent theme across the country and a consistent election system, you're going to struggle. But the federal government does have power to define who a qualified elector is as it relates to federal elections. Most state constitutions define what a qualified elector is. So the federal government does have power to recognize a universal voter ID or proof of citizenship, identify that that is a qualified elector. That's the power Congress has. But as it relates to how states manage voter rolls, how they do and conduct voting, that's where it gets hard and difficult. President Trump posted on Truth Social that regardless of if the Republicans get the SAVE Act through Congress or not, he's going to be able to impose voter ID. What that means, I don't really know. I think DOJ is just going to make sure that they have enough monitors across the country in the shenanigan hot zones, hope for the best and prosecute criminality if it happens. And that's good. Ultimately, that's good. But ladies and gentlemen, that's Nick Shirley for you. Democrats will be very pissed that he's in their state exposing an even worse type of fraud. Let's see what happens, how this develops. Go to Nick Shirley's channel. That's where you'll find the full uninterrupted video, because I did pause and interrupted it quite often. You read some comments, and then I got to get out of here, man. It's getting late. I know some of you guys have bedtimes, man.
Okay, that's the latest on George. We haven't done in a while. So I'm going to do some short clips and figure out what would be the last one to play.
Justice. They are a tactical demolition of trust, where the system of control is intentionally exposing its own rot, because you won't accept a digital cage unless you're convinced the human one is too disgusting to live in. They are using this trauma to manufacture your consent for a great handoff. And their secret logic is simple: automated tyranny. The elites are tired of being the targets, and they're tired of masks, protests, and the risk of the gallows. So they've built a solution. They want to hand the keys to an AI government. They'll tell you it's unbiased, unbribable, and incapable of corruption, but that's just the bait. The hook is the 2030 digital cage, and the evidence is hidden in plain sight within the 2026 white papers from the WEF and the OECD. They are codifying AI immunity right now, so if an algorithm ruins your life, denies you food, or freezes your digital ID, there is no one to sue, and there is no one to hold accountable. Because you can't put a line of code in a jail cell. By 2030, they want your entire existence, your money, your movement, your very identity, tied to a biometric unalive switch, and the same elites who funded the private islands, and participated in the most evil acts, are the ones who will be programming the so-called unbiased AI. They aren't leaving power, but instead they are becoming invisible. They are retreating into the code and algorithm so they never have to face us again. But don't fall for the no more corruption lies, because they aren't cleaning the system, they're upgrading the locks. They want a world where resistance isn't just illegal, it's technologically impossible, but it will be sold to the people as a resolution for safety. The system isn't failing, it's evolving, and it's evolving to erase us. We do not forgive, we do not forget. Anonymously enlightening out.
Okay, latest in our mask guy. We got an update from, I don't think I played this one because it just happened yesterday. He has an update from the shooter. 7 minutes.
Pack. This is breaking news just moments ago in Pawtucket, Rhode Island. Stay with me. Shooting at a Rhode Island ice rink. A trans father shoots 5 members of his family, killing 3, including himself.
Terrible.
Let me repeat that. A transgender father shoots 5 members of his family, killing 3, including himself. I'm going to read this to you. It's devastating, and this is, I guess, what you might say, emblematic of what is going on in this country right now with the identity politic or the identity crisis or this transgender thing. Listen to me very carefully. The Democrats or the Marxists have screwed these people up so bad that for the longest time, we've known that these people they were psychologically troubled. Bless their hearts. And I don't want them to get hurt. I don't want anybody to get hurt. But we've never addressed the problem. What the Marxists and Democrats have done is allowed them to get surgery, transition them. Many people are transitioning their children because they feel, I don't know, is what's going on here. Why these parents are doing it, but it just does not make any sensible. I mean, there's no sanity to it. Stay with me. I'm going to read you right off the wire right now. Is WPRI is now reporting that police have identified the Pawtucket, Rhode Island shooting suspect as 56-year-old Robert Dorgan, who also goes by the name Roberta. This is a quote. "He shot my family and he's dead now," unquote, or close quote. A woman who identified herself as the shooter's daughter told reporters as she was exiting the Pawtucket Police Department after the shooting. She goes on to say, "He has mental health issues," close quote. She said, adding that he was very sick. He's talking about mentally ill. For the longest time, ladies and gentlemen, and this has to be addressed, and I sympathize with people who are troubled psychologically, but the Marxists have basically put out this narrative that they just need to transition and everything will be fine. They just need to have surgery and identify them. If they're a man and they think they're a woman, they just need to cut off whatever parts and call themselves a woman, or vice versa. This is part of the Marxist political warfare being waged on this country that I'm educated in. I've studied this. This is part of it. There's many components, but more importantly, this identity politic is now fueling this. Basically, this gentleman shot 5 of his family members, killing 3 of them and himself. Psychologically troubled. The daughter knew he was psychologically troubled. And guess what? The Marxists and the Democrats, many of them in our Congress and around the country, seem to think that we don't need to address the core problem with these people. We need to just give them surgery and let them identify them. I'm a man, or I'm trans. I'm now Roberta. These poor people suffer from extreme anxiety, and this is what happens when you don't address the issue. How do you address the issue? You let them come to you and say, "Hey, I feel that I'm in the wrong body." What we do is we get that person psychological help. We don't start cutting on them and let them identify. All that does is exacerbate the problem. And more importantly, it never addresses the core inner struggle that they're dealing with. These people suffer from severe anxiety, and we need to address it at the core.
Gary, we got a lot of news today.
What we saw by the Marxists and the Democrats, it is so traumatic. I can't tell you. And this is emblematic of how the Democrats and the Marxists basically have allowed this to continue. They support these people getting surgery, never dealing with the problem, the core issues. Deal with the core inner anxiety. Instead, it is an absolute shame. God bless everybody. Let's see if hopefully we can get this straightened out. Get the people that want to, the guys that want to compete in women's sports, all that stuff. This has got to get back to some sort of sanity before the whole damn, I guess, social system just breaks down. This is part of the Marxist political warfare. If you go to preservingamerica.epac.com, you can watch our 4 documentaries. I don't even touch on it in the documentaries about how this transgender stuff is so serious, but I do recognize it, and I've studied it to a pretty good degree. It is unbelievably tragic. God bless. Pray for these transgender people. Pray for this family. Pray for the Democrats to come around and condemn this. This is repeated and repeated and repeated. We've got to do something about it, or this is just going to continue. We've got to help these people and stop giving them surgery. Quit allowing them to identify, I'm a woman now. No, you're a man. Until we address, like I said, until we address those issues with that individual and give them the real help they need, this will continue. God bless.
Hey, another good one from him for today. I got a few more short ones, and then I'm going to finish off with Cash's newest one today. It's an important one. I'll come back at 2 o'clock.
Self-employment to W-2.
The Saudi royal guard freaked out because I dared to ask a question, and they're not used to that there because they don't have a free press.
3 minutes.
And so they came up and they said, okay, well, you can't come into the next event, which was like 2 minutes later. And I was like, that's not how this works. I go into the US press, and they were like, well, you're not coming in. And I could see them like whispering and pointing about me. And some of the younger White House staff that were with the press weren't really sure what to do. And they went to Caroline. And to her credit, she said, no, Caitlin's coming in with the rest of the US press. And we went in. And so it didn't become this huge issue.
What do you say?
What would you say to the survivors who feel they haven't gotten
justice? You are
justice?
the worst reporter. No wonder CNN has no ratings because of people like you. You know, she's a young woman. I don't think I've ever seen you smile. I've known you for 10 years. I don't think I've ever seen a smile
Well,
on
I'm
your
asking
face.
you about survivors.
You know why? You know why you're not smiling? Because you know you're not telling the truth, and you're a very dishonest organization, and they should be ashamed of you.
These are survivors.
but when you speak to reporters who covered President Obama, he almost never responded to shouted questions. It wasn't his thing. He didn't, he would have his moments with world leaders, and then you would leave the Oval. Trump kind of upended that when he came into the White House. And sometimes presidents are press averse. Trump embraced the media. I mean, he did it for decades as like this New York mogul.
Sure.
And so he just had a different approach to the press and always has, long before taking office. Most politicians are not very press savvy. It kind of depends on who it is.
Sky News.
These days, the best doctors don't.
Okay, I got an update. I forgot to tell everybody at the beginning about someone that died today. This says he died at age 84. The next one will be 2 minutes.
Antarctica, and all the worlds are connected everywhere, and there's land up in the Arctic. Not only that, we found
this came out
cyclops,
just now, I think,
griffins,
today.
dragons. Gosh, what else? There's so many other beasts and creatures we found on this one. Like, there you go, right there. I don't know if that's a giant or just somebody fighting something. I don't know. It's crazy. But if you want a link to this, hit me up in the comments. I'll send it over to you. You can check this craziness out for yourself. And this right here, look at that. Brasilia Regina. This is not Brazil. This is that high Brazil or the other place, because when you go here, you'll see where Brazil is at. Brazil is way over here. Check it out. That's Brazil. This is wild. Oh, and then check this out. Sorry, it's upside down. I could probably flip it. Let me see. There you go. You can see it now. But there was another area here. You have some mermaids. But yeah, that one right there, we showed that last time too. That was pretty crazy. But yeah, it's pretty wild. It shows land all the way around, dry land. But not only that, it shows everything pretty much connected. And then check out, like, even where you'd have this little area right here where you'd have like Russia and Africa, you go down here and this is Japan. Look how big Japan is. I know I gotta flip it again. That's crazy to me. So I just found it really interesting and just thought it was cool and wanted to share this map with everybody because it was so neat. And there's so many different animals drawn on here that are different. And then all the land going around it. And then like you have some of these little passageways that are showing. It's just so neat. And there are several maps he made like this. This one's a circular one here. And it actually has even some writings inside here as well. But there's a couple others that he had made. This map, when it's put together, I think it's like 9 foot by 9 foot. It's pretty wild. Anyways, I'll be doing more of these. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you.
That was a map of something. Okay, I got an 8-minute Texas video. Okay, he's listening. Tim, a lot of news today. I'll be off 12, try to get back at 2, and another one tonight. Let's try again.
Right now, as you're watching this video, it's challenging California's 70-year dominance, and it's winning. In 2024, Texas added
Yeah,
over
she's listening,
560,000 new
listening
residents.
or not.
That's more than Florida, more than California, more than New York, Georgia, and Arizona combined. Every single day, 1,500 people move to Texas. That's a new person every minute. While California loses people for the first time in its history, this is why Texas is becoming America's most powerful state. Texas now has over 31 million people. Only California has more. But here's
Did we
what's
play
shocking.
this one
The gap
already?
is closing fast. In 2000, California had 13 million more people than Texas. Today, that gap is down to
I
just
can't
8 million.
remember.
And it's shrinking by about 500,000 people every single year. At this rate, Texas could surpass California by the 2040s. Texas could become America's most populous state. For the first time in 70 years, California won't be number one. But population is only part of the story, because people don't just move somewhere for no reason. Since 2020, over 140 major companies have moved their headquarters to Texas. Not branch offices, full headquarters. Tesla left California for Austin. Oracle left California for Austin. Caterpillar left Illinois for Dallas. These aren't small businesses.
Anybody
These
remember
are
this one?
Fortune 500 companies worth billions of dollars. And they're all moving to one state, Texas. Apple is building a $1 billion campus in Austin with 5,000 employees. It's Apple's second largest office in the world. Google and Meta expanded massively in Austin before the tech slowdown. All of this happened in just the last few years. Why are they moving? 3 reasons: 0 state income tax, 0 capital gains tax, and housing that cost a quarter of what it does in California. The median home price in San Francisco is $1.3 million. In Dallas, it's $430,000. That's 3 times cheaper. Companies save billions. Employees can actually afford houses. It's not even close. But the real power of Texas isn't tech or population. It's what's underground. Texas produces 43% of all American oil. Let that sink in for a moment. One state produces nearly half of America's entire oil supply. Texas keeps breaking production records year after year. The numbers keep climbing. Texas produces more oil than Iraq, more oil than Iran, more oil than Kuwait and the UAE combined. If Texas were its own country, it would be the 4th largest oil producer on Earth, only behind Saudi Arabia, Russia, and the rest of the United States. The Permian Basin in West Texas is the engine driving everything. In 2024, the Permian produced 6.3 million barrels of oil per day. That's 48% of America's entire oil production, from one region, in one state. And here's what's crazy. The Permian is one of the most productive oil regions on Earth. It rivals the output of entire countries and reshapes global energy. And production keeps growing every single year, despite using fewer drilling rigs. Texas also produces 28% of America's natural gas, and it has 35 oil refineries. That's a third of America's entire refining capacity. More than India, more than every country on Earth except China, Russia, and the rest of America. This gives Texas massive geopolitical power. When Russia invaded Ukraine in 2022, Europe needed to replace Russian oil and gas. Who filled the gap? Texas. American oil and gas ships sailed from Texas to Europe in massive numbers. Texas Energy kept Europe's lights on, without firing a single shot. That's power. But Texas isn't just stuck in the fossil fuel era. Texas leads America in wind power, by a lot. Texas has over 150 wind farms producing 30,000 megawatts. That's more wind power than any other state. If Texas were a country, it would rank 5th in the world for wind power. The Texas Panhandle and West Texas are some of the windiest places on Earth, even windier than most of Europe. Texas is also second in the nation for solar power production. Wind and solar combined provide a third of Texas's electricity, and it's growing fast. So Texas doesn't just dominate oil and gas, it's dominating renewable energy too. No other state controls this much energy, and all that energy is fueling something massive. All this energy powers an enormous economy. Texas's GDP is $2.7 trillion. If Texas were its own country, it would be the 8th largest economy on Earth, even ahead of Canada. Between 2010 and 2021, the Texas economy grew by 39%. That's 1.5 times faster than the national average. Texas has led the entire nation in job growth for years. The state consistently adds more jobs than any other state in America. And Texas now has 54 Fortune 500 company headquarters, more than California, more than any other state. But companies don't just move for the economy alone. They need infrastructure to actually operate. Dallas-Fort Worth Airport is the 3rd busiest airport in the world. It's the main hub for American Airlines, the largest airline in the world. But DFW isn't even the only major airport in Dallas. There's also Dallas Love Field, the hub for Southwest Airlines. Combined, they make Dallas one of the most connected cities on Earth. You can fly anywhere from Texas, quickly, cheaply. This makes Texas the perfect location for companies with national or global operations. Houston has the busiest port in America by tonnage. More cargo moves through Houston than any other U.S. port by total weight. Texas has 465,000 miles of pipelines. That's enough to circle the Earth 18 times. All this infrastructure was already built. Companies just have to show up and plug in. And most of them are showing up in one specific region. 3 out of every 4 Texans live in the Texas Triangle. This is the region connecting Dallas, Houston, San Antonio, and Austin. It covers less than a quarter of Texas's land, but it contains 22 million people. That's more people than Australia. It contains 4 of America's 15 largest cities, and it's the 4th most populated megaregion in America. By the 2030s, the Texas Triangle will have as many people as Southern California, except it's all in one state, under one state government, with one set of business-friendly laws. And more people means something else. More people means more political power. Texas gained 2 seats in the U.S. House of Representatives after the 2020 census. It now has 38 representatives. That's 15% of the electoral votes needed to win the presidency. California lost a seat for the first time ever. Texas is gaining power while California loses it. By 2040, Texas could have more electoral votes than California. That would completely reshape American politics. So what does all of this add up to? Texas isn't powerful because of one thing. It's powerful because of everything. Massive population growth, an exploding economy, the largest oil and gas production in America, leading renewable energy, world-class infrastructure, Fortune 500 headquarters, and growing political influence. No other state has all of these at once. California has tech and population, but people are leaving. Florida has population growth, but not the economy or energy. New York has finance, but it's expensive and people are leaving. Texas has it all, and it's all growing at the same time. Here's what this means. By 2040, Texas could be America's most populous state. It could have the largest state economy. It could produce most of America's total energy. It could be home to the most Fortune 500 companies, and it could have the most political power. Texas won't just be powerful. It could be the most powerful state in America. This shift is already happening, and California keeps losing ground every single year. For 70 years, California was America's most powerful state. That era is ending. The Texas era is beginning, and nothing is stopping it right now. If you enjoyed the video,
Okay, sorry if I replayed a bit. Some people might have not have got to see it yet. So we're going to finish off with cash. I think I'm just going to do 2 shows. I think 2 shows is enough. So I'll be back at 6 o'clock.
Out in the Officers Federation of Minneapolis does not support private individuals or groups on authorities checkpoints, blockades, or patrol zones on public streets. Peaceful protest is a constitutional right. Activities or physically blocking public roadways is not.
So, in addition to setting up checkpoints all over Minnesota, rioters are now perpetually clamoring at the gates of the governor's mansion, demanding their sanctuary leader, Tim Walz, do more to resist the feds and remove ICE from their city. The only problem is the brainwashed masses here don't understand that he can't, and that DHS has yet to run out of illegal fugitives or Antifa gang leaders to take down, who we're now learning are actually the real leaders of Minnesota.
Thousands of others oppose ICE by driving around every single day looking for agents. They consider it their job to stop arrests when they can. Advocacy groups say they have trained tens of thousands of people how to do it safely.
According to immigrants' rights group COPAL, there are more than 30,000 people who are signed up as trained constitutional observers.
We find them every day.
We now have the resources we need to begin the work of identifying, disrupting, and dismantling these insurgent networks. As you mentioned, they're very coordinated. They have ICE spotters and ICE watchers. They use chats to communicate with each other, to identify the location, and then they train their insurgents on how to block ICE vehicles, how to try to free arrestees.
No, things are not calming down, and Holman was here for that.
Border Czar Tom Homan announcing this week that around 2,000 agents will remain in Minnesota to carry out what he called targeted enforcement efforts.
When we leave this building, we know who we're looking for.
You have a lot of lights on. Dinner's got to be done by now. We haven't heard from you in a very long time.
Wow, they are not happy with Governor Walz over here in Minnesota, are they? But what nobody's talking about is this right here is the eventual predicament of anyone who grifts off of mob rule, because eventually the mob gets out of control and ends up running the place. And this is not an understatement, as these radicals have totally turned against their traitorous leaders and are now taking to the streets, turning intersections into communist checkpoints while they drive around all day in cars looking for federal agents, wondering why Governor Walz isn't in the back seat with them as they try to protect Antifa generals from getting hauled out of apartments at 2 o'clock in the morning. And it was only a matter of time before Governor Walz found himself the enemy of his own people. You see, these mobs, as they radicalize and radicalize and radicalize, eventually they exceed even your wildest expectations and go completely off the deep end. But now you're probably wondering why Walz and Omar are out there stoking the righteous anger of these hordes. Well, it's pretty simple. They got a huge short-term boost in popularity from these radicals who wanted to see action against Trump and who wanted to be told they were fighting for the cause of righteousness. But then the mobs figured out their leaders were only willing to go so far and went rogue. Which brings us to the real reason the federal government is sticking around in Minnesota. Yes, after President Trump told Governor Walz that he was going to invoke the Insurrection Act, Governor Walz was trapped between a rock and a hard place, forcing him to make the difficult decision to turn on the mobs. Because if the Insurrection Act kicks in, the federal government takes over every aspect of law and order in Minnesota, including the discovery and shutting down of fraud dens and scam centers and the prosecution of those involved. Schemes these elected officials hope and pray they can somehow figure out how to cover up, something they won't be able to do if they are deposed of their power, which is why they're now being forced to cooperate, which, as you're about to see, is exactly what the mobs on the streets of this place do not want.
Resisting fascism a crime. Our ICE and CBP bringing peace and prosperity to Minnesota. Do we believe that the Trump administration ever acts out of any interest to ensure peace and prosperity for working class and oppressed peoples? Walz should know that there is no negotiating with fascists.
You know something? I feel bad for these people. They've been told since 2015 that President Trump was the greatest threat to our entire planet ever. But the fact that they're in front of the governor's mansion espousing hatred really tells you something, doesn't it? Because just a couple of weeks ago, Governor Walz was the hero of the resistance movement powering socialist America. But today he's no better than Donald Trump. In fact, if you listen to these people, he's even worse than President Trump, which is quite an accomplishment, especially when you consider that President Trump gained the hatred and ire of these people by doing something America wants, by getting elected and doing what most people in this country want. But Tim Walz, he got their hatred by doing what they want.
Is remind people who Tim Walz really is. This is a man who in 2020, immediately after the burning of the 3rd precinct, authorized deadly force against mostly black and brown protesters. And the reason for this is that Tim Walz only sees some of our lives as worth saving, only sees some of our lives as worth protecting.
So in this guy's opinion, Governor Walz, he's been a sellout the entire time. He's never been part of the team, even though he was the leader of the team just a few days ago, because the federal government hasn't yet been toppled and still has agents running around arresting dangerous criminals who don't help our country. And if you're running Minnesota, there's no coming back from this. You can't, as governor, harness the rage of these people forever because they are totally radicalized and they're in a competition with each other to see whose views can be the most extreme. And you're going to lose that competition if faced with something like the Insurrection Act, which means there's no way to ride this wave forever. And if you want proof that Governor Walz and local officials in Minnesota are absolutely terrified of these mobs who've just got them totally surrounded and trapped, look at who's allowed to live in Minnesota and doesn't get arrested at all until the feds show up.
Armed agents raided a Minneapolis apartment. It appears they smashed a window to get inside. Thanks for joining us. The White House says they took down a man who called for the federal law enforcement officers on social media.
This is when masked federal agents with long guns make their way up to the 3rd floor of this Minneapolis complex. And it was all caught on camera. You hear banging before you can make out a name.
Police for the warrant. Kyle Wagner, come to the door.
Minutes later, they take him away in handcuffs.
Masked gunmen, federal agents came in, and I did see them grab our neighbor.
37-year-old
He doesn't
Kyle
know who
Wagner,
his neighbor
a Minnesota
was.
activist, is now charged with threatening to assault and ICE agents.
That's who they found in this apartment. This guy right here. Look, it says right on his shirt, I'm Antifa. He doesn't care that he's being arrested, and this guy was on a mission. But the fact that people like this have embedded themselves all over these lawless sanctuaries, not just Minnesota, we've got them in California, we've got them in Portland, Oregon, it just goes to show you who the real leaders of this insurrection are behind the shadows, because these are the only people that can stay ahead of the radicalization of the mobs. You see, Governor Walz, he might be in charge, but then people like this guy right here who made threats against the federal government, I mean, no one's going to get more radical than him, and he doesn't have a reason to stop. He doesn't care about the Insurrection Act. And how do you have somebody who's a self-proclaimed Antifa general? Well, they're getting paid to be that person. Someone's propping them up. We know there's money flowing into these organizations. Some of it's coming from the federal government. Some of it's coming from foreign interests who don't want to see America function as it should, that's for sure. And what this reveals is the local government in Minnesota, this entire time, it's just been a smokescreen for what's really going on here.
Hi, Bill. The Justice Department using this as an example that if you threaten ICE officers, there's going to be real consequences.
There should be.
So as you mentioned, this is a self-described Antifa member, now hit with federal charges for his disturbing videos on social media. We'll show you more of those videos, but first, this is him right here, Kyle Wagner. They arrested him yesterday early in the morning. He was proudly wearing a hoodie with "I'm Antifa" plastered right across it there. The criminal complaint describes the threats against ICE. Fox obtained some of those videos. You can watch it for yourself.
This is not.
Yep. It's called a home equity agreement. And I got $143,000 for my home.
Joke. There's nothing fun to chant about it. Get your guns and stop these people.
This is where ICE has come to die. We will identify every single one of them.
How is this guy allowed to walk the streets of Minnesota freely and be a general in Antifa? who are out. Like, what was he doing? Was he just having coffee at the coffee shop, having peaceful conversations with people? Or was he sowing the seeds of insurrection beneath the surface, underneath the cover of a legitimate government that's afraid of people like this and knows that they're out there? This is the entire problem with these grifter politicians like Walz and Omar, who are getting rich and getting short-term political power. They think they can surf on top of these mob armies as they radicalize and head left, but eventually that ends. And eventually the sanctuary where this is taking place self-destructs because people like Mr. Kyle here are leading the charge off the deep end. And in order to avoid federal prison, Tim Walz, who's under federal investigation right now, better cooperate with President Trump. And you know how you can tell things here are really bad? The people that live in Minnesota have no idea what's really going on where they live.
The backbone of Minnesota's neighborhoods, economy, and culture.
United.
When small businesses are strong, our communities are strong.
Okay.
But Friday, these small business leaders say strength is fading by the minute. Operation Metro Surge keeping away customers and out-of-town visitors, as well as slicing through staffs at stores and restaurants.
Our businesses are short-staffed, short-changed, and overextended.
Well, whose fault is that? Is that the fault of the federal government, who's here arresting criminals and deporting people who aren't supposed to be in America legally? Is it the fault of the federal government for coming here and shutting down scam and fraud centers all over the place? Or is it the fault of these radical leaders who tried to appease the mobs by telling them, yeah, it's cool, we're a sanctuary, you can hire whoever you want. It doesn't matter if they're a gang member or somebody who snuck across the U.S. border and hasn't even been vetted. Go ahead, hire them. Doesn't matter that the federal government says they're not supposed to be here. I don't care. We're not going to enforce the law. We're not going to turn that person in. Go ahead, run your business this way. That's how these people built these businesses. And now that ICE is here, they don't have any workers and they don't have any customers. That's a big problem. That proves that we've got a massive illegal immigration problem going on in Minnesota, bigger than anyone here admitted before any of these operations kicked off. Yet the people here, they don't realize that had they just been playing by the rules, had they hired legal residents who couldn't get deported, none of this would be happening.
Mutual aid at the expense of our own stability, our own families, our own paychecks, and our own futures.
We are hearing that some businesses might not be open tomorrow or next week or in the next 2 weeks.
Friday, Minneapolis Lake Street Council saying they've lost $46 million in revenue since December.
46
We're not going to
million.
recover in March, even if 2,000 ICE agents leave tomorrow. You don't come back from that.
Oh, did you hear what that guy just said? He said, even if the mobs get their wish and ICE leaves, the writing is on the wall for these places. They are finished. And as you're about to see, this has nothing to do with ICE or the federal government, because the same people telling us the streets are unsafe and that everyone's in danger and that nobody wants to come outside, these are the same people who go outside every day combating the federal government, proving just how safe it is to be on the streets of Minnesota. We've got people that attack the federal government out here every single day, and somehow they're not in jail, yet we're supposed to believe ICE is out there rounding up people for no reason, when the people attacking them seem to be getting away with it, much to the chagrin of the rest of America, who's looking at this lawless insurrection, wondering why it hasn't been called that yet. But this reveals something deeper. Not only in these sanctuaries do you have a critical mass of mobs, these individuals are actually a drain on their own society. If they aren't running a business which fraudulently steals from its own legal residents by giving jobs to people who aren't even supposed to be in the country. These people are running around ramming vehicles and creating checkpoints and doing everything they can to disrupt the normal operation of their own town. And these are the same people that have been following ICE around all year long. First, they were in California during the riots in LA, then they moved to Portland, Oregon, then they set up shop in Chicago, and now here they are in Minnesota. You got the same people. It's like a world tour following ICE around as they go try to enforce the law.
And then they train their insurgents on how to block ICE vehicles, how to try to free arrestees.
That's what they're doing.
And then they dox ICE officers. They follow them home. They follow them to where they sleep at night. So again, it's a sophisticated insurgency involving a large number of radicalized, extremist, violent left-wing operators stoked by the Democrat Party. The resources and strategy is in place now, and you're going to see significant numbers. There's already been in the recent days.
That's wild. But hey, at least the White House knows what they're dealing with. They know what's going on here. They know that this is an insurgency, as it is correctly being called by Stephen Miller. That's what these folks are. You don't drive around all day in your car hunting down the federal government if you're not part of some insurgency. You don't train an army of 30,000 people to go and do this as violently as possible while claiming that they're peaceful, trying to rip people out of vehicles who are on their way to a deportation flight and not be part of some insurgency. This is an uprising. That's exactly what it is. These are people who are at war with America itself. And people like Tim Walz thought they could ride that wave. And then Trump was like, hey, listen, buddy, got this thing called the Insurrection Act. You better start working with us. And he said, oh, yeah, I better.
Now, Bill O'Reilly, host of the No Spin News, BillO'Reilly.com.
Where Fry runs. Look. If you continue, and I say you in a general sense, to allow states and cities to not enforce federal law, you don't have a country. It goes. Okay? Everybody should understand.
So then why is Trump backing down?
He didn't back down.
He's not backing down. He's trying to defuse. Why would you say he was backing down? You want a CNN contract?
Look, there's still 2,000 agents who are sticking around in Minnesota. And Bill O'Reilly, he's right. If you do not allow federal law to be enforced, you don't have a country, at least not in Minnesota. And that's why the place is falling apart. We got businesses that have built themselves on a foundation of illegal immigration. Now they wonder why they don't have any customers. Now they wonder why they don't have any workers. And they're complaining that it's ICE's fault somehow for enforcing federal law and getting people in America who do not have permission to be here out. But here's how the mobs are taking things to their own local government. These checkpoints that are out on the streets, these aren't a bunch of people that are just crazy. No, they're doing something very deliberate. What they're doing is they are usurping the power structure in place in Minnesota. And that would be the traffic system. They've got their own people out there, making sure that they know who's who, checking who they are in their vehicles, reading their license plates, putting them into their database, making sure that everybody who drives down the street is an approved member of the right team. You see, that's what's going on. And yes, the local police come and dismantle these checkpoints, but then they just get set up somewhere else. These people aren't put in jail. This is allowed because people like Governor Walz are trapped in their mansion with these people clamoring at the gates, trying to get rid of them. The whole thing is an insurgency. It is a left field socialist takeover of this country that even the most radical politicians in our country are having a tough time getting ahead of because the mobs are headed for the deep end. And
okay, that was another important one from Cash. I was going to go sign off, but I had a feeling Billy was coming out, and she's been gone for a while. So I want to play this now so we don't have to play that one tonight. So it's 30 minutes. This will be the last one. So we'll get Billy in. I'm going to go check my mail.
February 17, 2026, time in Texas, about 10 a.m. Some of the things I'll cover today. Greenland is like a dying fish, and Iran hires mercenaries to kill the Iranian people. And we have President Trump defending America using the Golden Dome. So let's get started. We're going to begin with what's going on in space. So we continue to have a quiet sun. We do have small plasma bubbles coming off the sun. And recent studies show these small plasma bubbles. So we have We have the sun. You know, it's making these small plasma bubbles. They're hitting the Earth, and we know that the Earth's electromagnetic shield is weakened. So we have more of an impact of these plasma bubbles on the Earth, and they directly affect GPS and comms. So we have that going on. Now we have also information that during this solar cycle, it's believed we could have something as strong as an X10 flare by 2028. My thinking is we could have an impact similar to the effects of an X10 on Earth in the past.
4747, tax-free. That's how much you'll save each year with Perry Johnson as governor. Perry will eliminate the Michigan income tax by cutting just 2 cents off every state discretionary dollar spent and by eliminating waste and incompetence in our government. Perry's revolutionary efficiency helps save Detroit's auto industry. Now, he'll save our state. Perry Johnson for governor. 4747.
Uh-oh, what happened?
But we could have the same effect on Earth as an X10 with a much lower X value flare, say an X7. And we could have that same impact as an X10 in the past because our current shield is weakened. So that's going on. And we have this. Stephen Burns. Now, he made this statement yesterday, February 16, that in the next 24 to 48 hours, which would be February 17 to 18, 19, we could have a large plasma bubble from the sun that would cause a G1, G2 geomagnetic storm. So that does appear likely. And we know that affects communications. So what's going on with Iran? Now we have been hearing, so we have Iran, we have the Persian Gulf, we have the Strait of Hormuz. Okay, through what? The Strait of Hormuz. Between Oman, we have the UAE, we have Qatar, Kuwait, okay, Israel. So what do we have going on in Iran? Well, we've been seeing for several months deaths in Iran of Iranian people who are rising up against a theocracy, a religion-dominated government led by the supreme leader, Ayatollah. And it appears that this pushback by the Iranian people has been going on to some extent for 40 years, since or about the time the Ayatollah took over. Now, in the past 1 to 2 months, we have seen official U.S. government numbers up to 70,000, unofficial up to 100,000 Iranian people killed allegedly by the Iranian government and the Iranian IRGC. So new information comes out from Tusi TV that, yes, these deaths of the Iranian people did come by the efforts of the Iranian government and the Iranian IRGC, who have hired mercenaries, people who are not Iranian, to come into Iran and slaughter the Iranian people. In my mind, this puts a double hash mark, on any calculation of evil that Iran has done against its own people. The Iranian government has hired mercenaries, people who are not Iranian, to come in and dishonor the Iranian people even more by slaughtering the Iranian people in the streets of Iran. We have now demonstrated a despicable, evil, corrupt government led by the supreme leader, Ayatollah. So that's going on. We have a government hiring foreigners to come in and slaughter its own people. How low can you go? So that's happening. We have this also in the last 72 hours. The U.S. has sent an additional 72 F-35s to the Middle East. And we have this. We have China and Russia not wanting to come directly against the U.S. military, saying to Iran, we'll give you equipment, intel, but we ain't fighting the U.S. military. So that's going on. So now China has a ship somewhere in this area, China, to give intel to Iran about the location of U.S. military planes and ships and so on. So the Chinese are using radar and providing intel to Iran. And the Chinese radars can provide long-range surveillance, and they can track stealth planes like the F-35s up to 350 kilometers. They can also track missiles up to 700 kilometers. I got this to say to China and Iran. You ain't seen nothing yet. You think the Chinese radars, most probably they can track stealth planes like the F-35s. Do you seriously believe that's the only option the U.S. has? Or could it be that the U.S. military has ways to block those Chinese radars, which they haven't shown yet? So that's going on. And we have this. Yeah. Yesterday, February 16, we had the Iranian people in the street shouting, I think something about a king, and this is believed by interpretation to mean that the Iranian people are in the streets yesterday shouting for a return to a change in government from the current Ayatollah to, it's believed, they're calling for a transition government to be headed up by Reza Pavladi. He's the son of the exiled Shah from 47 years ago when the Ayatollah took over. So that's going on. And the Iranian people are in the streets shouting for a change of government. So that happened. And we have this. Now, the Iranian government is sending out either the IRGC or their hired proxies to the homes of Iranian people who are simply in their homes. They're not out in the streets demonstrating, but they're being sent out to the homes of people to threaten the people and their children. That many have been shot dead near Tehran. So this means the Iranian government, even though the people are not in the streets demonstrating, if the Iranian government thinks the people who are staying at home with their children are a threat to the Iranian government, they send out their hired proxies to the homes of the Iranian people and shoot them dead in their homes. So the evil in Iran has hit a new low. And we have this February 16 through to yesterday to today. We have this in Israel. One of the assistants to Bibi Netanyahu is chief of staff, Asher Hayan, has been found dead in his home in Tel Aviv. And we have this, that the Hayan family is blaming the Israeli government for the death of Asher Hayan. So that happened in the last 24 hours. Also in the last 24 hours, the leader of the UAE, right here, UAE, has been found dead. Mohammed bin Zayed. And he was against the U.S. using the UAE to launch strikes against Iran, even though there's a U.S. military base in the UAE. Well, he's passed away. He's been replaced by Khalid bin Mohammed. And this is going on.
Quickest way to improve vision.
This is the quickest way to improve vision without drops, surgeries, or injections.
So there was a meeting today, February 17 in Geneva.
17 minutes.
It would have been Geneva time about 2 p.m., which in U.S. Eastern Standard Time would have been about 2 a.m. So 2 a.m. and the East Coast would have been 8 a.m. in Geneva. Yeah. So that's going on. So they've already had the meeting, and it wasn't expected the meeting would be productive. And we have this. So they had the meeting in Geneva. That happened this morning. And no consensus was formed. We do have a statement from Iran's Iranian crisis manager, Ali Vaez. No agreement was reached. And so that's going on. So we do have the Iranian government making that statement. No consensus has been reached. And we have more today from 2CTV about more Iranian people clashing with the Iranian government and military and being shot in the streets. It's also put forth that the individuals doing the shooting are hired mercenaries by the Iranian government. So that's going on. And the people in the streets today, CCTV could translate what the people in the Iranian streets today are saying. People shout, "Long live the king," believed to be a reference to the Shah. And we have, "We will kill whoever killed my brother," as in revenge. So that's going on. Okay. And we have this from Dr. Makasala. Yeah, he had an interesting interview with a Frenchman, Jean-Charles Moen, who appears to be a remote viewer and has other abilities. I believe Jean-Charles can teleport, also engage in telekinesis like that. And puts this forth about, so we know about Greenland. So we have the US, we have Greenland. Now, I put forth that there was an ancient arc under Greenland. There are ancient arcs under most continents. So that's not new. But apparently Jean-Charles Moen was involved in an interaction with the Ark under Greenland, where some evil ETs, and we know about evil ETs, fallen angels, and Nephilim, wanted to try and secure the Ark under the Greenland, and Jean-Charles Moen engaged in a form of telekinesis, moving something with your mind. And he states that he doesn't think he moved the Ark underneath Greenland, but that rather he was like a booster. That's probably most accurate. But still, this is another allusion to Greenland. Now, this is my take on Greenland. I believe that Greenland is like a dying fish on a dock. We know now through science that when you take a fish out of the water and it's flopping around on the dock, that the fish appears to be in excruciating pain, and that flopping around on the dock can take up to 22 minutes before the fish dies. Now, I have seen people fishing, taking the fish out, putting it on the dock, using a hammer to hit it in the head, and that instantly causes death, and it stops flopping around. And who knew? Those head hammers were actually keeping the fish from experiencing excruciating pain. Well, now what do we see going on in Iran? We see China and Russia both saying we don't want to fight the U.S. military, but we will give support Iran by giving it equipment, intel, but we ain't fighting the U.S. military. Now, could the collective militaries of Europe come against the U.S. military? I don't believe any reasonable military analyst believes that they could. Why? Because the collective militaries of Europe are too small. They don't have enough equipment, and they're not integrated as the U.S. military is. And we know that President Trump has said to
This cordless blower completely changed how I handle snowstorms, especially if you've spent years cursing at shovels or dealing with equipment.
Greenland, 11 minutes,
and to Europe, to Denmark.
11 minutes.
The U.S. will take Greenland. We can buy it or we can take it by force. So I believe that Greenland is now at that in-between stage and is like a fish flopping around on the dock in excruciating pain as its body dies. So Greenland, you could take the hammer to the head and make this death much faster, because if you are realistic, you see President Trump, the American people support President Trump taking Greenland, buying it, or taking it by force, because President Trump and the U.S. military said the U.S. needs Greenland for our security, which translates to us to protect our children. We are in agreement with President Trump. So you can spend 22 minutes dying on the dock, or you can take that quick headshot and come out, I believe, far ahead of what you are now. And I speak this to the people of Greenland. So that's going on. And we have this. So we had, all right. So Peter Rose brings this out. We've been seeing this, 18 to $20 billion welfare fraud in Minnesota. And he says that you ain't seen nothing yet till you see the welfare fraud in California, likely $250 billion. So that's going on. And we have this. Yes, so there's been some looking glass activities. Looking glass is a type of device the U.S. military has that a person with certain genetics, certain abilities can touch and can then pick up some future event. Do I believe that's believable? I think so. I mean, many Christians, I speak as a Christian, I don't have to touch a device to get a download from God and pick up future things. So yeah, it's believable to me. And this is about a looking glass technology being used to also bring some information out about that recent U.S. military shut down the airport in El Paso and New Orleans. And I've brought that out. That's because the U.S. military was using new technology, laser technology of a force that could take down a commercial plane in the air when the U.S. was hit by the cartels, the IRGC and the CCP inside Mexico, across our border, drones. And it's coming out that the U.S. was using part of its Golden Dome defense system, which will eventually be global. So that's going on. And Golden Dome will go global. And the Golden Dome was also used in Venezuela. So we have that going on. And we have this. Yeah. And it's being used against deep underground areas currently. And that the deep state over the U.S. is using chemtrails. That's to combat the White Hat's use of the Golden Dome defense. So the deep state is continuing to spray chemtrails over the U.S. to keep the U.S. from being defended. So that's going on. Deep state, we're coming for you. We know recently, over the weekend, we had something like 3.5 million more documents, Epstein documents released. Some names came out now.
I can't believe the sleep apnea pillow exists. So I almost made the dumbest mistake of my life. I got this contour pillow called Dorila Ergo, but honestly, I was ready to return it. I didn't.
It's good to remember, just because a name is released associated with the Epstein list does not mean these are individuals who went to Epstein Island or Zorro Ranch in New Mexico or had other evil associations with Epstein. It can simply mean their name is on the list because their name was listed somewhere in the documents, such as maybe Epstein sent emails to invite certain people to come to the island. Well, that would mean the people he sent the emails to, their name would be on the list, and they've done nothing. So, yeah, it's good to be careful. So now, some of the names that are coming out associated with Epstein, Julian Assange. Now, we know Julian Assange was a whistleblower. I believe Julian Assange could simply have been someone named or in the emails and talked about. We have also Ehud Barak. He was associated with the government of Israel. We have William Barr, Merrick Garland. We have Bill and Melinda Gates. We have Bill Clinton and HRC. We have Michelle and Barack Obama. We have Lindsey Graham. We have Kamala. So that's going on. We have also Hakeem Jeffries. We have John Kerry, Monica Lewinsky, Robert Mueller, Rupert Murdoch, Elon Musk, Jerry Nadler, Nancy Pelosi, Pope John Paul II. We have Samantha Power, J.B. Pritzker, Dan Quayle, Jamie Raskin, and we have Janet Reno, Susan Rice, Bill Richardson, Mitt Romney, Paul Ryan, Pierre Salinger, Adam Schiff, Chuck Schumer, Amy Schumer, Ben Shapiro, Ed Snowden, Alex Soros, George Soros, Lex Wexner. And we have from Hollywood, Woody Allen, Alec Baldwin, Phil Donahue, Michael Jackson, Mick Jagger, Jay-Z, Beyonce, Janis Joplin, Marilyn Monroe, Rosie O'Donnell, Kash Patel, and Elvis Presley. I don't know why Kash Patel's name is there. For the royals, we have Prince Andrew, Princess Diana, Elizabeth II, Prince Philip. So that's going on. And we have this from President Trump. So President Trump is ready to receive the SAVE Act. It's passed the House. It's going to the Senate. That would require individuals registering to vote, be able to provide proof of citizenship. And then to vote, you would need a photo ID. 83% of the American people support this. So it's in the Senate right now. We have this from President Trump, some Facebook friends. President Trump has been successful in taking down the price of gas, taking up the value of the stock market, closing the border, and making our factories hum, and also bringing about taking down the cost of drugs. He is draining the swamp. And we say, way to go, President Trump. And we have this. From Dialogue Works, an interview today with Professor Marati. He's from Iran. That there are names associated with Epstein that haven't been released yet that are on a global list. And that the Epstein list, and when it comes out, will list not hierarchy of governments, but the real puppet masters, the oligarchs. So that's going on. So it's good to be in prayer for America, President Trump, the U.S. military, and world peace. I love you, and I'll see you soon.
Okay. Well, at least now we don't have to play that tonight. Hopefully I can do all short ones tonight. The 10 to 15 minute ones. And the 5 minutes. Shorts and stuff. But no more long ones for tonight. So we'll come back at 6. Yeah, 2 shows is enough. So I wish everybody love all, but please hit the like. Stay safe, stay strong, keep the faith. Never give up, and thanks. Carol, Tim, Lucy, Kay must be listening. And we'll see you all back at 6. Have a good afternoon, guys. Signing off. Chico, dude.